Down payment program. This has kind of turned out to be the centerpiece of what we're looking at on beginning farmer loans. What it is if you're a beginning farmer, and it's also if you qualify as a socially disadvantaged applicant, and you can come up with 5% to put down on the purchase of a farm, and you can get somebody else, another lender, an ag credit, a bank, whatever, to pony up half the loan, half the purchase price. We can come in for 45% of the loan on a 20-year note at 1.5% interest. That's gotten everybody's attention. Used to be, we've had this program for a while. It started out as a 10-year loan with a 4% interest rate. Sounded nice, 4% at the time, because the interest rates were substantially higher, but that 10-year note made the payments a little bit tough. They extended it out to 15 years. Made it a little bit better, still not a whole lot of bite. 1.5% interest, that woke everybody up. And in 20 years, it makes a big difference. So now we're actually getting involved in a lot of these, and we're getting a lot of people who otherwise, wouldn't be able to actually come out and get the loans that can do it now. With the price of land getting to the way it is, you got to have some sort of break. This is one of the things that helps. And the other thing is usually they're using dad's equipment or mom's equipment or whatever. So to get these advantages is what it comes down to. Now I'll keep rolling. Guaranteed loans. This is where the bank or ag credit or farm credit gets involved and makes the loan. The loan limits on that, $1.12 million. And pretty much it can do everything that we can do under the direct loan programs. One difference on a guaranteed farm ownership, we can refinance debt on that. So from that standpoint, that's about the one big difference. Mainly you're working with the bank, you're working with the other lender, and we just come in on the backside and guarantee it against loss for them. So hopefully they can get involved. On the operating loan, there is something called interest assistance, which can reduce the interest rate by 4%. Right now, that hasn't been a big problem because overall interest rates are down, so we don't really have a whole lot. Plus, Congress really hasn't funded it very well, so from that standpoint, you sometimes end up on a waiting list, which doesn't really help. So, but it is available just in case would need be. There are some general eligibility requirements. You have to be the owner-operator of the farm. If you're looking to buy a farm and then you're going to rent it out to somebody, we can't help you. That's just not what we do. If you want to operate the farm but need to rent it, we can do that, but not the other way around. And then just some of the other things that you just have to meet all our eligibility requirements. And the second one there might be the other thing, be unable to obtain sufficient credit elsewhere. That's where we say, if you can go out and get a loan with somebody else, we're going to ask you to do that. Because, like I say, we could beat their interest rates in terms if we needed to, but that's just not what we're up to. So we do actually look at that, and usually the first thing we say is go out and talk to somebody, especially on some of these programs for equipment and stuff like that. They can pretty much meet our terms and everything. So, for beginning farmers, the down payment loan program, that's the 45% at 1.5% interest. The next one, first priority to purchase FSA inventory farm. We haven't had an inventory farm in Ohio. That's where we would buy it back at a foreclosure auction. We haven't had one of those for a long time, and hopefully we won't anytime soon because it takes forever to get them back on the market. But that is actually there, and it's on the slide. So, but the biggest thing, we target a portion of all our funding is targeted to beginning farmers. If you qualify as a beginning farmer, there's likely to be more money available. So, and then who qualifies as a beginning farmer? You have to have operated at least 10 years or less. If you're looking at a real estate loan, we have to have at least 3 years participation in a farm business operation. And that we want you to actually manage operating the farm, not just driving the tractor around. You can't own more than 30% of the medium-sized farm, and entities have to be related by blood and must be beginning farmers. The socially disadvantaged, I say I threw that term out, that actually defines it. And again, some of the programs that are available. And a little bit of loving for us local employees. Like I say, I used to be one of the newest kids on the block, and I've been with the agency for 22 years now. So we've seen it all. We've been through lots. I started with the end of the 80s, which was a bloodbath for farming, and I've been with it through last 5 years have been really good. Unless last year you were with a hog or a dairy farm. But we've seen it all. So more on FSA farm loans, and that is in your listing there with some of the various counties and which office actually services them. So, as they also wanted me to throw in a couple as far as quickly on some examples of what we've done with the loan programs, and I put those on the last page. There is one here, it's actually a local producer up by Radnor. He bought a farm over in Union County, I should say. Purchase price is $806,000. The other lender on a guarantee financed $420,000, 7.5 for 20 years. We did a direct loan. This was not a beginning farmer down payment loan because he actually owned a little bit of land already and he didn't qualify as a beginning farmer, even though he's young and normally would have. We gave him a 5% loan for 40 years. That long term made the payments real nice. And so it made it so he could make it happen. And he had some family help with the down payment. The next one down there, this is one that's actually up in Marion County. 39 acres of bare land. And this was actually under the beginning farmer down payment. The other lender made the loan at 7.5% for 30 years, which is one of the requirements of the beginning farmer program. We did the 1.5% for 20 years, and they only had to come up with $7,300 down to buy the farm. And then one final note on here, on the back page, the youth loans, which is something people say, I make the comment that we make youth loans so people can finance 4-H projects, and we never knew you had that. This is one we did over by Sunbury, and he just bought some bread gilts. We loaned him $2,500. He's paying that back to us over the course of 4 years. And it gets them in there, gets them doing it, and makes it so they don't have to drain mom and dad for all the money. So that's also one of our programs that's available. So I have plastered through the stuff real quick. Any quick questions before we move on?
Minimum acreage.
Not especially, but it has to be considered a typical farm. So if you're just buying a couple acres and want to put a garden out, not so much. But
more of the urban agriculture.
Something like that, as long as it can be considered production agriculture, and for that matter, even if you had a other operation somewhere else and you just wanted to buy someplace with a barn or something that can be considered a base of operation, we can also do that. So.
There was something about 10 acres you had to have if you want the food raise so much.
Not so much anymore. There used to be more restrictions on what was considered a farm and such, but now they're giving us a little bit of leeway, but we also don't want to get into just financing somebody's house that's not really part of what they're doing. So you're looking like you want to move on.
Well, I think this is a great, thank you so much for providing all that info. Hope you'll be around if people do have other questions.